Hi friends, in this lecture we'll learn about hemoptysis, what are the causes, approach to a patient and the management. First of all, what is hemoptysis? It is the expectoration of blood anywhere from the respiratory tract, be it glottis to alveoli. It is very important to distinguish that whether the blood is coming from respiratory tract or any other part like from nasal cavities. If it is coming from nasal cavities, it is termed as epistaxis, or it can the blood can be there from GI tract. Bleeding from GI tract is known as hematemesis. These have to be differentiated because the treatment is very different to each entity. Now once we have confirmed that it is hemoptysis, then it can vary a lot in the severity. It can vary from blood tinged sputum or pink frothy sputum in cases of pulmonary edema to frank blood. Now hemoptysis is termed as massive if bleeding is more than 400 ml per 24 hours. More than 400 ml per 24 hours. It is more than 400 ml per 24 hours or a single episode of 100 to 150 ml. It is termed as massive hemoptysis. Now the most common site for hemoptysis is bronchi, which are the medium sized airways. Now as we all know that lung is supplied by dual circulation. It has dual blood supply, one from the pulmonary circulation which is a low pressure system which helps in gaseous exchange, and other is the bronchial circulation which is the high pressure system coming from aorta. The most common cause of bleeding is from bronchial circulation, and since it is the high pressure system, it is very difficult to control bleeding from the bronchial circulation. The bleeding can be there from the bronchial circulation because it is the one which neovascularizes the tumors, supplies the dilated bronchioles in cases of bronchiectasis, and also gives the rich supply to lung abscess. Therefore, it is most commonly involved circulation. When we talk of the severity of hemoptysis, it can be mild if it is bleeding less than 100 ml per 24 hours. Moderate when the bleeding is 100 to 150 ml. Severe when it is 150 to 200 ml. And massive hemoptysis we have already discussed, more than 400 ml per 24 hour or single episode of 100 to 150 ml single episode. There is a confusion in some books that massive is defined as more than 200 ml per 24 hour, but Harrison page number 20th, page number 233, we can confirm that it is more than 400 ml. Now after we have discussed the severity, it is very important to distinguish between hemoptysis and hematemesis, as it is very often confusing and the patients use vague terms to distinguish what it has been, either hemoptysis or hematemesis. So we can ask the following points to the patient which can lead to the diagnosis. In hemoptysis, the color of the expectorate will be bright red. It will be bright red. On the other hand, in hematemesis, due to acid, it will become brown colored or coffee colored. Preceding cough will be there in the history if the patient really has hemoptysis, and it will be absent in hematemesis. There will be preceding vomiting in cases of hematemesis. Since hematemesis is common in CLD patients, there will be history of jaundice, history of melena. Melena is the brown blackish discoloration of stools, which is due to upper GI bleeding and undigested food, and these all will be absent if we ask to the patient of hemoptysis. Undigested food particles. The pH of the blood which is coming from hemoptysis is alkaline, since it is the normal blood pH, which is almost 7.4, and in hematemesis, since it has a mixed acid, the pH can be acidic. Now coming to the causes, hemoptysis can be caused by either due to infections, second vascular causes, malignancy, and finally the other causes which can be mechanical causes. When we talk of the infections, the most common cause of hemoptysis is viral bronchitis. It is the most common cause for hemoptysis. It usually causes blood tinged sputum or very small volume hemoptysis, usually mild hemoptysis. Chronic bronchitis patients can also present with hemoptysis when there is superadded bacterial infection. Superadded bacterial infections by organisms like Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is the most common cause of pneumonia, Haemophilus influenzae, and Moraxella catarrhalis. Now, bronchiectasis, which is the abnormal dilatation of airways, it is very prone to hemoptysis because it has recurrent bacterial infections. These are dilated airways which are chronically inflamed, highly vascular, and supplied by bronchial artery. Therefore, these are very prone to hemoptysis. Now, the most important cause in developing countries like India is tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is still the most important cause in all the developing countries, and the most common site of bleeding and most common mechanism is bleeding from the cavity formed by a Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Rarely, it can be a bleeding from Rasmussen's aneurysm. In this case, the bleeding site is from pulmonary artery. Rarely, hemoptysis can also be caused by endemic fungi like Nocardia aspergillus, can be caused by pulmonary abscess, necrotizing pneumonia, and a specific lung fluke known as Paragonimus westermani, which can cause pneumonia known as paragoniamiasis, and it is a rare cause, although in endemic countries it can be considered a cause of hemoptysis in recent time immigrants who are coming from endemic countries. Now coming on to next very important causes, that are vascular causes. Bleeding can be there from pulmonary edema. In this case, there will be a very mild hemoptysis in the form of pink frothy sputum. This is due to elevated left ventricular end diastolic pressure. Elevated left ventricular and diastolic pressure, which leads to back pressure changes in the pulmonary circulation, leading to pulmonary edema and bleeding. Pulmonary embolism can present with hemoptysis if it is causing pulmonary infarction, although most cases of pulmonary embolism usually present with either dyspnea or cough, not with hemoptysis, rarely due to infarction, pulmonary infarction. Any ectatic vessel in the airway or pulmonary arteriovenous malformation can cause hemoptysis. Fistula between aorta and bronchus, this can lead to rupture leading to hemoptysis. And a variety of diseases can lead to a pathology known as diffuse alveolar hemorrhage. In DAH, usually the bleeding is in the lungs itself. Patients do not present with hemoptysis. Bleeding is restricted to lungs, but sometimes it can present with hemoptysis, and it can be caused by diseases which are leading to immune mediated inflammation of capillaries. Immune mediated capillaritis. This can be seen in diseases like SLE, granulomatosis with polyangiitis, drug abuse like cocaine, and also it can be seen in recipients of stem cell, that is stem cell transplantation. Now coming on to the third very important causes, that is malignancy. Hemoptysis can be caused by bronchogenic carcinoma, be it any histology. It can lead to both massive as well as submassive or non-massive hemoptysis. The most common cancers leading to hemoptysis are small cell carcinoma, and squamous cell carcinoma. Since these are frequently central in location and has a connection to bronchus, these are most common cause of hemoptysis when we consider carcinoma. Other tumors like carcinoid tumors can also lead to hemoptysis. Pulmonary metastasis coming from distant tumors like melanoma, sarcoma, adenocarcinoma of breast and colon. These all can lead to hemoptysis due to metastasis. A very important tumor, Kaposi sarcoma, seen in HIV patients, can have its presentation with hemoptysis. Coming to the final part of etiology, hemoptysis can rarely be caused by pulmonary endometriosis. Endometriosis is presence of normal endometrial at an abnormal site. So when it is present in lungs, it is known as pulmonary endometriosis, and it will lead to cyclical bleeding every month. This is known as catamenial hemoptysis. Foreign body aspiration, it is most commonly seen in children, and it can lead to hemoptysis due to airway irritation. Iatrogenic causes can be due to any diagnostic or therapeutic procedure like lung biopsy or procedures which can lead to pulmonary vein stenosis from left atrial procedures such as pulmonary vein isolation. These can all lead to hemoptysis. Commonly, patients with thrombocytopenia or coagulopathy and the patients on antiplatelets and anticoagulant drugs can also present with hemoptysis very commonly. Now, when we consider the source of artery, the most common source, as we have discussed, is bronchial artery. Most common source in TB is also bronchial artery. but most specific source is pulmonary vasculature if it is a Rasmussen aneurysm rupture. So if it is Rasmussen aneurysm, it will be more specific for the diagnosis of TB. Most common source in bronchiectasis and CA lung are both bronchial artery. Most common source in mitral stenosis. Mitral stenosis can also present with hemoptysis, and in this case it is the bronchial vein. Bronchial vein. Most common sources pulmonary embolism is pulmonary artery. When we come to the evaluation of the patient and how to approach a patient, we'll first begin with history, then physical examination, then we'll go to investigations. In history, the first step in evaluating hemoptysis is to determine the severity of bleeding. How severe was the episode of hemoptysis or hemoptysis? It can be mild, moderate, severe or massive. We have already discussed. Massive hemoptysis accounts for about 5 to 15%. 5 to 15% of all patients presenting with hemoptysis. The determination of this severity is important because the patients rarely die of exsanguination. This is not the cause of death, but these can die because of aspiration, that is blood filling in the airways. These most commonly die due to aspiration. So it is clinically very important to distinguish between the severity of hemoptysis. Now other things like fever, chills or antecedent cough can lead us to the infective cause of hemoptysis. Any smoking history can be a patient of chronic bronchitis leading to superadded infection and hemoptysis, and smoking along with unintentional weight loss can be a marker of CA lung. We should ask every patient regarding the history of pulmonary TB or any other chronic pulmonary disease like bronchiectasis. Patient should be evaluated and asked about the drug history, medical history. For example, patients can be on antiplatelet drugs. Patients can be on anticoagulants for any other disease, and these can present with hemoptysis. Now the physical examination part is also very important. The vital signs is important because the presence of hypoxemia, tachypnea, that is increased respiratory rate, and tachycardia. These should raise the level of suspicion because the patient can be hemodynamically unstable due to massive hemoptysis. Examination of nasal and oral cavities is very important, and the ENT checkup should be there to rule out any epistaxis. Clubbing can be present in patients of lung carcinoma or bronchiectasis or cavity formation in TB. TB if there is cavity formation. Pallor can be present if the patient has very high amount of bleeding in the form of hemoptysis. The bleeding diathesis, for example, skin or mucosal bleeding and skin or mucosal ecchymosis or petechiae or telangiectasias can lead us to the diagnosis. Lung auscultation is also very important to rule out the lung pathologies in the form of infections, bronchiectasis, bronchitis or any other cause. Now coming on to the investigations, first we will start with basic investigation like CBC, which can tell us regarding infection in the form of raised TLC, anemia due to massive hemoptysis, thrombocytopenia as a cause of hemoptysis. Coagulation profile should be done to rule out the cause of hemoptysis due to deficient coagulation factors. RFT with electrolytes and a complete urine analysis is important to rule out any pulmonary renal syndrome. Pulmonary renal syndrome, as we have already discussed. Chest X-ray is needed in every patient, in all the patients who present with hemoptysis. It usually do not localize the site of bleeding and can appear normal. If the chest X-ray is appearing normal, we should start the treatment of bronchitis, as the viral bronchitis is the most common cause. If it is normal, start treatment for bronchitis. If the patient is not improving, then we go for CT chest. CT chest can give us the diagnosis of bronchogenic carcinoma. If the carcinoma is central in location, it should be sampled. It should be the biopsy should be taken from that carcinoma with the help of flexible bronchoscopy. Now coming on to the final treatment part, the aims of treatment are to protect the non-bleeding lung, locate the site of bleeding, and finally control the bleeding. Protecting the non-bleeding lung and the airway is of paramount importance in management of massive hemoptysis, since it can anytime lead to asphyxiation and the damage of non-bleeding lung. The patient should be positioned with bleeding site down. If the bleeding site is identified on chest X-ray or clinically, the patient should be positioned on the bleeding site down. Endotracheal tubing should be avoided, as suctioning is less important. Suctioning is less effective means. So the cuff reflex is a better means to clear the airways as compared to endotracheal tube suctioning. Now, if the site of the bleeding has been localized with the help of chest X-ray or CT angiography can tell us about the active extravasation and locate the site of bleeding. We have to control the bleeding. Controlling the bleeding site can be approached to either three means. Either we can go from airway lumen. If it is central bleeding, we can either go from blood vessel, or the third procedure is final procedure, surgical resection of both airway and vessel involved. We can go from the airway lumen through either flexible bronchoscope or rigid bronchoscope. Flexible bronchoscope can be used as a temporary measure to suction the clot and do balloon catheterization. Can be used to suction and balloon catheterization. But for more advanced procedure, we need to do a rigid bronchoscopy, which can be helpful for photocoagulation and cauterization of the blood vessel which is bleeding. We can approach through the blood vessel and do bronchial artery embolization. It is the procedure of choice to control massive hemoptysis. It is the procedure of choice for massive hemoptysis. For bronchoscopy, we will need a pulmonologist. For bronchial artery embolization, we will need a interventional radiologist. If the bleeding has not been controlled by either of the means, the final step can be surgical resection of both airway and vessel involved, but it has a high mortality rate of 15 to 40%. 15 to 40%, and the prognosis is very poor in this procedure. Now coming on to the approach to the patient. If the patient with hemoptysis come to us by history and physical examination, we first rule out the other sources, whether oropharynx or nasal cavity or GI tract. We have to first rule out these sources. If it is really hemoptysis, then first we have to quantify the amount, whether it is non-massive or massive. Massive is more than 400 ml per day or single episode of 100 to 150 ml. If it is non-massive and the patient is not having any risk factors for bronchogenic carcinoma, like age is less than 40, no smoking, then it is treated as most common cause, which is bronchitis. We treat the underlying cause, usually infection. If then also the patient is having persistent bleeding, then we'll go for workup. On the other hand, if the patient with non-massive hemoptysis has risk factors like more than 40-year age, smoking, history of tuberculosis or bronchiectasis, we'll go with basic investigations like chest X-ray, CBC, uric acid, creatinine coagulation studies. Sorry, this is urine analysis. If we get to the diagnosis, well and good. If not, we go for CT scan. If we find any mass or carcinoma, we go for bronchoscopic biopsy. Treat the underlying disease. If there is persistent bleeding or the patient has presented with massive hemoptysis, first our aim is to protect the airway. If the bleeding stops, it well and good. If the bleeding continues, we'll go with the treatment procedures as we have discussed in the last slide, like embolization, which is the procedure of choice, or resection, which has high mortality. Thank you so much.